Hey, you're in the field, and I'm Derek Brooke. So, the feds are proposing putting the monarch butterfly on the endangered species list. I want to start off by saying I am all for conservation and preserving the butterflies. But the monarch butterfly is that nice orange one that everybody sees all the time, virtually anywhere in the United States, any given summer day, like spring or summer, you can find them almost anywhere. They're incredibly common. And the feds want to put this species on the endangered species list. Now, they cite a few things. Mostly what they cite is an 80 to 90% drop in their populations over the past 40 years. But I would cite a whole lot of issues with how they count them. Basically, they guess how many there actually are. The way they guess leaves a whole lot of room for error. But I would argue that if anything, scientists are getting better at counting the monarch butterflies. So I would argue that because the scientists are getting better at counting them, supposedly, that they are actually more accurately counting them, and it may actually just be this 80% decline in population may actually just be a closer representation of what the monarch population always has been, because scientists are potentially getting better. But regardless of however you want to count them, monarch butterflies are numerous, and in recent years, a lot of the data is showing large comebacks in population size. They're actually seeing an increase in the population, and now is when the feds want to put it on in the endangered species list. Which brings me to the endangered species list to begin with. Putting the monarch butterfly on the endangered species list is just a perfect example of the gross misuse of the Endangered Species Act. I'm not entirely a big fan of the act in general, because basically the act gives the government the ability to give this endangered species rights to your property while simultaneously taking away your rights to your property without paying you anything for it.
Provision. Are you seeking money from it?
So basically it's like eminent domain, but they don't have to pay you for it.
And the last thing he took was the log for their fire.
Which is a huge problem and a major issue. And instead of just encouraging, practices that might help protect endangered species, they misuse the Endangered Species Act and put something on the list that I would argue has no business being on the Endangered Species Act. And this really affects everyone in the United States, because the monarch butterfly is literally found everywhere in the United States. So why am I talking about this? And why should you care about this? Because the monarch butterfly is literally found virtually anywhere in the continental United States, which, ergo, you'd think would make it not endangered, is the reason you should care. Because if the monarch butterfly is everywhere in the United States, that gives the feds and the government overarching authority to tell you what you can and cannot do on your property anywhere inside the continental United States.
Then he slithered and slunk with a smile most unpleasant.
It has nothing to do with a species, that's, on the verge of collapse in a specific location. They say it's on the verge of collapse everywhere in the continental United States and North America. And that's the issue I have with it. That so often these environmentalists and these PETA people, they mean so well. They do. They mean well. But they come out saying it's the end of the world. The butterfly is going to be gone. In fact, they've gone so far to calculate that by 2080, there is a 99% chance that it will definitely be gone and extinct. Now, I don't know how they calculate that. It would be interesting to look at some of the math on how they calculate the nearly 100% extinct rate by 2080. Must be they don't calculate in any conservation efforts, because that would, change that. to, not extinct, but how they calculate that is a whole other story. The point is it's doom and gloom. I know climate changers have been saying the earth is going to be destroyed 30 years ago, 50 years ago. They were saying that 100 years ago, that we would all be dead by now. And clearly that's not the case. So reasonable action can be taken. If you do care about the monarch butterfly, as do I, there are plenty of wildflowers you can grow in your own yard, and you'll see a plethora of monarch butterflies in your own yard. I think you would probably, someone in the city, like dense city, make a nice little window garden and tell me if you can get some monarch butterflies to come there, because I'm willing to bet you could get monarch butterflies to come, even in the city, because they are so plenteous. And so I have problems with the scientists' estimation of how many monarchs there actually are. The Endangered Species Act was there to help species that are genuinely endangered. The monarch butterfly, quite frankly, is not one of them. But if you disagree with me, or you agree with me, there is currently open government website. The feds are taking public opinion on whether or not the monarch butterfly should be added to the endangered species list. And I'm going to tell you, go tell them not to put it on, because it's not an endangered species. And there are plenty of other options to take if they're concerned and want to get ahead of this 40-year trend where the monarch butterfly is supposedly dropping in numbers, even though the past 5 years they've jumped in numbers, especially recently. You can check that out on a web search for yourself, how the monarch butterfly numbers seem to be jumping in some sort of, it's like it's miraculous somehow in their mind. But to me, it's just normal. There's only 90 days from December 12th, 2024. So I think that means it ends on March 12th, 2025. So you have to get your opinion in by then. And you go to regulations.gov. And it should show up there at regulations.gov. And I will have a link in the description. Make your opinion known, whether you agree with me or not. Doesn't matter. I want everybody to be heard. It is a democracy. The issue I have is the Endangered Species Act is not democratic, and it is, quite frankly, tyrannical fascism. But that's purely evidenced by them trying to put the monarch butterfly on it and thereby give themselves eminent domain anywhere in the United States because of a butterfly. The butterfly has more rights than you.
You're worth more dead than alive.
And that's how these people think. And that's the problem I have with it in a nutshell. You, the person, have human rights and are far more valuable than a butterfly. Besides, God will feed the butterflies. He promises to feed the sparrows. Sparrows eat butterflies sometimes. So he's going to feed the butterflies so the sparrows can be, fed, like he promises. But you are worth far more than a sparrow or a butterfly. That's why God himself stepped down in human form, in the form of Jesus Christ, and died in yours and my place. Because God valued you so highly that he came and died for you, to give you eternity. He couldn't possibly give you more, and he couldn't possibly love you more.
He is for all mankind.
That's how I know, no matter what happens, these monarch butterflies are going to be all right. And so are you, if you have Jesus as your Savior. God bless.